But my question for you, Todd, is as I do the work and I know that any stressful thing that arises is a belief, or I generally know that. I makes what I wonder is when I feel the stress and then I go, that's a belief. How do I honor it? Or how do you honor that without burying it? Because I find what I'm doing sometimes is just that's a belief, push it aside, and then it's still there, and then it blow up, or or I think it's not bothering me. So, but the only way so far that I can experience is to let myself have the story, which also doesn't really work that well. So, how do you manage beliefs coming up without knowing they're a belief, without shoving them to the side, repressing them? How do you let them breathe?
Yeah, that's a super question, right? I mean, just so appropriate for this whole process of doing the work of Byron Katie. Um, it's so quick to to jump to a turnaround and just be like, oh, that's a belief, oh, that's just my thinking. And if we're not careful, that can become a spiritual bypass, if you will, where we're like, oh yeah, oh, I already get that. That's a thought. Don't have to look at it. And it's still going on inside. Like that wasn't enough. That didn't really uh, turn it around or really land in a new place, a new way of being. So this is extremely important when you're doing the work, which from one point of view looks like it's a way of turning things around. Like, oh, great, I'll just turn things around. But that is just one part of doing the work. The work is an experiential process, and it is something that starts with one thing, listening. And so I have to listen to my thought, which comes with an emotion, and I'd rather not feel it sometimes. And I just want to push it away and, like, oh, that's a belief. Let me just be done with it. But as you said, that just buries it. So this thing is coming up for a reason because it wants some attention. It needs some healing. It needs some awareness so that it can start to get what it needs and start to come back to a place of balance inside. And so the starting point is to start where you're actually at. Anyway, the only way that something can be experiential as opposed to intellectual kind of process is you have to honor, just like you said, you have to honor where you're at. And so the starting point of doing the work is a stress. I feel stressed. That's where I'm at. I need to give all ears to that. I sometimes say, give the mic to your stressful emotion and let it talk. Like, let it have its day. And if you skip that process or rush that process, or even have in the back of your mind, well, yeah, you can talk all you want now, but I'm just going to turn you around later. It doesn't feel like respect. And this part is not going to feel safe inside. It's not going to fully express, or it's not going to trust you to handle what it expresses. So the first part, whether we go any further with the work or not, is to listen, hear, and really honor the experience that you're having on a stressful level. That in itself is therapeutic. I mean, they've done studies on that, not related to the work at all. If you just write out your stressful thoughts and just see them and experience them, it it changes something. Like, that alone is therapeutic. So we need to be heard. We've been trying to suppress it forever, trying to not pay attention to it. And we need to give time and space for this stuck part to cry and to be angry and to uh, really express its fear and whatever other emotions it may be having. So, first stage of doing the work is identifying the stressful thoughts, identifying what's going on, and really listening. And so you can do that in writing a worksheet. You can do that in talking with a facilitator and having them write down your thoughts. But regardless, you are honoring that and you're not rushing it. So that's number one. basically, like, your question is almost like the mind starts to do a shortcut of the work, and and we're hoping that that will be enough, because sometimes it is. Sometimes there's enough openness in me that somehow I'm, like, saying, "Oh, that's just a belief," and bingo, I feel free and light and everything's great, and that's fantastic. But sometimes, and a lot of times, I that little trick doesn't work. The shortcut doesn't work. And so that's when I need to slow it down and really get in touch with the experience of stress and begin um, to to listen to it, to hear what it's saying. Like, okay, tell me more. Why do you feel stressed? Oh, it's because they did this to me and then that and you're like, okay, I'm listening. What else? Like, what should they have done? Writing a judge your neighbor worksheet. What should they have done differently? And what do you need? And what do you think of them? And like all these chances for this emotional piece, stressed piece to emote and to express what's really on its mind. Because up to this point, nobody's been listening to it. Namely myself, namely, the mind is not listening to the heart or to the emotions. So I think that's first step. We're talking about an experiential process, and so that is the beginning of it, and a very important part of it. Then you have to go through this experiential process of asking the 4 questions: Is it true? Can you absolutely know it's true? How do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? And who would you be without that thought? And take your time with that. It has to take some time so that you can experience a yes or a no, or you can experience how you react compared to who you'd be in the same situation. It's an experiential thing. And so if you rush that, or if you go, oh yeah, I already did that, I get it. Oh, it's just a belief. You skip all of that and it stays intellectual, stays mental, and it doesn't honor that emotional piece that started it. I like to go even further and say, I want that emotional piece to be the one answering the questions, the 4 questions. Is it true? I want to hear from you, little stuck piece. Is it true for you? And can you absolutely know it's true? Because that's the one that needs to do the work. And I also want to know, how do you react and who would you be, so that it knows it's in the control place. Like it's not going to be, um, it's not going to be, uh, I don't know what the word is. Like we're not going to fool it. We're not going to kind of manipulate it with this kind of work. We're saying, no, no, you, the emotional part of you, I want to hear from you. What do you think? And experience. Who would you be without the thought, and all of that. So then, as you go through those 4 questions, it starts to loosen the attachment a little bit, or it may not, but it often does. And you can then go on to the turnarounds, which is basically saying, like, could the opposite be true? And asking that question, and then looking at different opposites and finding examples, and then sitting in why those examples could actually be true for you. Again, the little stuck piece is answering that. This whole thing is an experiential process that might take a half hour or might take who knows how long, that is set up so that this emotional part can be honored, can be heard, can question its own self and look for other possibilities. And it's so respectful. It's like so respectful of that emotion, because it's bringing something valid. And we're saying, I hear you. What is it? And is there more to the story? And let's look. And in the end, if you go through that process, often something really significant does change, and you're left with a feeling of like, okay, wow, get it. Oh, yes, it's a belief, but it's not just, oh, yeah, it's a belief. I really get how uh, this belief you know, has been blocking me or causing me issues. And now it's not just conceptual that it's a belief. I actually see, the opposite, and I see how my, uh, my perspective is larger to be able to see it in a larger point of view. So the idea is you have to slow down uh, when something is not just opening right away. You have to take your time and go in and give it the process. That's what the work is for. Yeah.
Thank you. Reed, do you
Yeah.
have any questions or work or anything like that? I always
Yeah,
can keep talking.
that was great. I mean, I'd never heard the word experiential and describing giving that feeling. It, it's day to talk.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
meditation, right? It's a meditative process. You can understand meditation, but you have to do meditation for anything to actually change. And what meditation is experience. It's an experiential process. So whether it's the experience of stress or the experience of a turnaround and some freedom that comes from that, uh, it has to stay on the experiential level. Otherwise it doesn't touch me.
nice.
Anything that you've worked on in the last little while that you're interested in sharing? Or I could, or I could. I'd certainly always have a million beliefs, but I'd love to hear anything from you, Todd, if there's anything, or Edwin.
Yeah. I actually just recorded a little uh, another episode for podcast will come out next week. But it was an interesting situation with my dad uh, where I uh, where I was said something a little bit critical or a little bit almost like negative in a situation where he was wanting more positives, or at least I was thinking that, and then I was getting self-critical about it, and so I did a cool piece of work on that and just showed that it was more exaggerated in my mind than in reality, and I think that was my main takeaway.
It was a self-judgment that you were questioning?
Yeah, basically
Okay.
a self-judgment, right? Yeah, like I can't remember the exact words, but something like I was too negative, or like, oh, I no, I hurt him. That's what I did to work. I hurt him. Yeah, and and the assumption was that he would take it really badly, and and my guess is it may have, but I kind of guessed that it was not uh, so strong. Yeah,
How about if we look at the world's in trouble with this announcement from Katie? Because that kind of went through my head.
sure. Yeah,
Like, oh, shoot, how's the work going to survive through this? And if we don't have the work's going to be gone, stuff like that. So I think I did have a little bit of we're in trouble.
okay. Yeah. So for anyone that's not aware of it, Byron Katie, the founder of the work, has had for many years something called the Institute for the Work, where she's trained people, including me. That's where I got my certification in as a facilitator of the work, and she's had an ongoing support and helpline and uh, classes and community there for doing the work. And just yesterday, she shut it down, said, "Okay, it's gone," and she was very sweet. Had a large group Zoom call and explained her thinking. And but the reality is, she closed down an institution that has been there for quite a long time, and a lot of people have been participating in. So your belief, if I heard you correctly from this, is something like the world is in trouble or
Yeah,
something like that. That
world is
sound
in
right?
trouble.
So let's question it. First of all, where were you? Where's the time and place that you can anchor yourself as you do this work?
Yesterday, outside, listening to the call with Katie, I was part of the. I got to hear her announcement in real time. So I was outside here in the
Right.
afternoon.
All right. So yeah, I think I saw you there on the outside of your cottage there. Yes, I remember now. So because she's closing down the Institute for the Work, the world is in trouble. Is that true?
Yes.
And can you absolutely know it's true? The world is in trouble.
No.
So how do you react? What happens when you think that the world is in trouble uh, because of her closingness?
In that moment, I felt like sad and fear, a lot of fear. And that this is one of the things that prompted my earlier question. I just was like, get that out of here. Well, that's too bad. This is all a belief. It's going to be fine. It's Katie. But in that instant, it was like so sad, so scared, seeing this world. It's like, but to me, the work is salvation. The work is people will do the work and the world is going to be so much more peaceful. And this is the only tool that works because I see for me, like the work's the only thing that works for me. And I see like that's gonna be gone. It's gonna be a game of broken telephone. No one's gonna be consistent. And like it seems the future is like total loss and total loss of the work. And without the work, no hope. And all the hopes I was pitting on the work for the world come crashing down. So I feel scared and sad and I feel like how do I treat people is kind of like nobody else matters other than Katie and this institute. And now it's just a bunch of people running around with their heads cut off or whatever. Like that's how I treat everybody else. Like there's not wisdom outside. And how I treat myself is like, well, shoot, I can't do it. Like they don't listen to me. Katie says people come to her when she started. And I'm like, that's not happening. People don't come. Only, so it's just a lot of seeing a future for the work and then just feeling like, I guess I'll retreat. Well, I'll do it myself. And hopefully that'll keep me alive while the rest of the world falls apart. It's like a lot of fear for the health of the world.
Okay, so who would you be without this thought that the world is in trouble because of her closing the Institute for the Work?
Without the thought, it's just she's talking. I love hearing and seeing Katie. And I see all these people who care deeply, deeply about her and about the work. I feel comfortable. I'm fine outside. Like in just that moment, it's like everything's okay. It's like, okay, here's some uncertainty. Here's like, I thought things were this way, and now here's some uncertainty. And without the thought, it's just like, wake up to this moment here, like not the future, this moment, and how wonderful it is to be with people and Katie. And also how comforting it is that she's still there. The institute's gone and she's still there. And also feeling privileged to be part of this experience of hearing her. And thank goodness I discovered the school and was able to do it and got to have a bit of the institute. So without the fear, there's gratitude and there's just waking up to this moment being.
And what do you see when you look at the world without the thought that it's in trouble without the Institute for the Work?
I see, first of all, that I don't know what the world's like. I see there's lots of interesting things happening in the world. And my experience has recently been more seeing more people talk about presence and awareness. I see the work is so great for me, and other people seem to have other tools that work well for them. And so the world looks like it's on a journey. it's not all, it's not with the how to react. It's like they're all just like believing their thoughts and doom. And without that spot, it's like the world's on a journey. Everyone's doing interesting things. Like I thought it was going to come from the work, but where's things come? Where is things coming? I don't know. So it just feels, and then it just connects to the universe. Like everything's bigger than any one thing. So the world seems like vibrant and living again.
Yeah. So how would you turn the thought around? The world is in trouble because Kitty's closing the Institute for the work.
The world is not in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that connects me to Katie because she is doing this and she's in touch with reality. She's not saying this is the right plan, but she is like, I'm okay with it. She's okay with it. So to me, that's a bit of a vote of confidence.
Sure.
The world is not in trouble. I feel like, yeah, it can happen. It's her. She was the genesis of it. She's now doing a different direction. The world's not in trouble. The world's not in trouble. Well, I just see that even though a lot of people do the work, a lot of people don't do the work. And the world's not in trouble. Like good things come from places outside the work, outside the institute.
Yeah.
Good things come from those other places as well. Things that I like, appreciate.
Yeah, I love that perspective. Yeah. Not like the world the world's happiness, the world is dependent on the work or the institute for the work, right? Because Kitty didn't shut down the work. The work is
Right.
just 4 questions and turnarounds. But that particular institute is shut down. So yeah, the world's not in trouble, not necessarily. There's a lot of support.
Yeah.
So what are some of the supports that you see for the world that besides the work, just to spell them out a little more in detail if you can?
So many people care about the world. So many people are planting trees or making peace, initiatives or learning or singing or dancing. So many children, they don't know the work. They're like bringing their beautiful gifts to the world. They're wise. We don't know what will come from children. And also, as in trouble, like other examples. I just kind of also see all the different languages and cultures and the things going on in the world that I don't even know any idea about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at one very specific way of being. I'm judging it as bad, and then I'm judging it as doom. But it's like, that's the very narrow lens. And there's so many cultures doing interesting things, so many religions, so many, yeah, I'm on Instagram, so many interesting people saying very cool stuff that's similar,
Mm-hmm.
that's the same in touch with presence and awareness. And non-judgment, no blame. Things like
Yeah.
and things people I've felt very personally touched and inspired by, even though they're not connected to the work.
Yeah. It's really, really good to see, to balance this story. Because like you say, you can just get so focused on this because this works for me, then this is what the world needs, and miss what's actually happening in the world, which is so many different ways of expressing this and different, ways of expressing wisdom and truth and um, yeah. So seeing some of that, even just touching on it as we're doing here, can help to balance that on an experiential level inside. And it's something that you can continue to look for too. Like just keep your mind open to what else is going great about the world. What else is available in the world? What else? What else? What else? What else? And it may start to be, yeah, you may start to see a lot of, and Katie's one of them. And going back to, it's just the institute that's closing. So how is it that maybe even with regards to the work and allowing people access to the work, how could it be better with the institute of the work closed for getting people to have it come in contact with the work possible?
It's like it's kind of a burst of energy where everybody's like, okay, and like I checked, there's a WhatsApp group for anybody who wants, and it's like 250 messages. Like everybody's talking, is connected, everyone's being supportive things for each other as a community. And I see the dedication to the work. It's not just me. A lot of people really care about the work. A lot of people want to, like with the belief, I'm almost like, oh, everyone's going to be in their own economic. Like I'm judging facilitators according to my own thing. And without that, with the term, it's like they care about the work. Everybody who's doing it cares about the work. Like, and they still are there. And with the institute gone, maybe you'll have like the institute had one way of doing things and one way of creating awareness of the work and recruiting or whatever. And now you have all these people. Oh shoot! Okay, well, how will I let people know about the work, and
Mhm.
how will I broadcast my courses, and who can I touch? And so it's like ultimate in responsibility. The institute's not doing it for us, all of us, to do it. If we care about it, let's see what we can do. And
Yeah.
that could certainly, without the belief, you know, it could certainly be. And I see, like, there's a facilitator I really want to work with. I still can. She's offering something outside of the institute, so that's going to be great. And I just see, I saw you there. I saw Susan in that call. Like people I really respect and care about, and I know they care about offering the work. And it's like, wow, it'd be great if people could discover more facilitators, maybe through these
Yeah.
different ways.
Interesting. Like how you said, like she's kind of, um, there isn't this structure or built-in support so much with that institute gone, but that could actually make everyone dig deep, become more responsible for how they share the work, and you never know, it could be like an explosion of different ways of sharing this process from people that are inspired and uh, have done a lot of work themselves. So it's almost like I'm thinking of it now that you talk about it, like when kids go off to school and then off to college or something, and there's no more like you're not everything's not done by your mom and dad anymore, and and it's a little awkward in the spots, but it can actually become amazing because there's the freedom there to go in any direction.
It can have the possibility of maybe there's a way of uniting people without having that. For me, when I was starting to do the certification process, I was having difficulty, competition, ideas, um, qualification, the questioning authority, like a lot of side issues to the work.
Yeah.
And without that sort of like, okay, we're not going to waste our energy on. I'm sure I can find ways to waste it in other side tangents, but that one is, that's not going to be there.
So all that institutional stuff, all that hierarchy or whatever you want to call it, like, that administrative kind of side of things is just being cut out.
Right.
Maybe that's why Katie did it. Who knows? Just like, let's be done with all that stuff and just, here are the 4 questions, turnarounds. It's real simple and go as far as you want with it. Some people will just go really far with it. Some people will be like, yeah, tried it, next. And there's just this freedom of not having to make people get there or something, and I don't know. I'm not saying that the Institute for the Work did that, but there's a less structured thing. So it's like just a big playground instead of, oh, we're in school now and we have to get to grade whatever and graduate and all those pressures.
Yeah.
Cool. So these are just ways of thinking about it, right? Like, the world is in trouble because Katie closed the Institute for the Work. That's this original stressful thought. The world's not in trouble. And expanding to how that could actually be as good or even better, it's eye-opening. Yeah, so there's more turnarounds you can kind of play with, and I'll just mention them here. One would be, I am in trouble because I closed my own self, basically, right? I closed my own self, my institute for myself. So just to touch on that, does that make any sense to you? Did you close your,
yeah, there's part of me like, okay, well, now no one's ever going to know about me because there's no more marketing. I will be able to get the certification and put that name and then get on the website. So it's kind of like, it closed. I'm in trouble. It's like, who cares about the work? What's happening to Sarah?
Yeah, it all comes down to me, right? I'm in trouble.
Like, am I going to get a refund for my e-course? Like, what's going on for me?
Yeah.
Like, which could spur that individual focus, can be like, okay, well, everything's in trouble. So I'm in trouble. And also, anytime I'm fixed to anything, I'm in trouble. Like, and I keep trying to remind myself, any religion, and the work can be a religion, and it can be like a person can turn the work into a concept that's a religion, and so I'm in trouble whenever I start to do that. And
now we're in trouble. Now we're doing things the old way, the way that's never really gone that far, where we just build institutions and have religions. And I'm not saying religions are bad, but what I'm saying is, like, okay, we've done that a lot and there's still problems in the world. And she's just saying, just let it be there, out there, without any structure. Yeah. So I'm in trouble because I'm closing down basically my viewpoint, my awareness to just one way.
Anytime I hook myself to something, I'm probably going to be in trouble. So, okay, my success is with the institute. Institute's gone. What happens to me? Like, my success is based on my age or my income. Like, anytime I'm hooking myself to something external to me, I'm in trouble. Just the way of the world.
That's it. Cool. All right. Well, I'm sure we could keep exploring, but this is a great start to playing with this kind of a stressful thought, and I love where you went with it. Well, thank you.
Thank you.